We're talking about Starship Troopers.
Oh my goodness.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah, you had gotten me the 4K Steelbook, of course.
Steelbook.
Which was a double dip because we had the Blu-ray. But the 4K had my favorite type of artwork.
Cheers.
Which is non-traditional artwork because, of course, the Blu-ray was always the traditional cover, which you'd get from the old DVD days, which is very, very generic, which you just get the cheesy Johnny Rico and Dizzy and just them their stupid poses with the guns, and it's just
it's kind of vanilla.
It's just like whatever. And the Steelbook is just beautiful, beautiful artwork and just, very non-traditional stuff that I like. And I was like, hey, I'd like to see the picture, see what this looks like, and of course turned into watching the whole damn 2-hour plus film. And watching it, and you watched it with me.
I haven't watched it in years.
Yeah. Hadn't watched it since we watched the Blu-ray, I think, which was a while back. Yeah. I was like, you know what? No pun intended. I'm getting the bug.
Oh.
I'm getting the bug.
Getting the bug.
I'm getting the itch. It gave me a really good excuse to finally show you.
Yes.
Roughnecks. Yes. Starship Trooper Chronicles, which was something that I had seen as kind of when it came out. It came out late 99, 2000, and I saw it kind of when it was coming out back in the day, and then in syndication and all that good stuff. And
before you go into it, though, we highly recommend you guys go out and watch Starship Troopers. By the way, if you have not seen it, you younglings out there, if you have not seen it, it's one of the greatest movies of all time. Entertainment, popcorn movie. Went over everyone's heads back then.
A bit, yeah.
It was like people did not get it.
Yeah, people were just kind of like, "Ooh, what is this?" But it was Verhoeven's satire.
Yeah, it was satire.
It was his dark humor.
Humor.
If you remember RoboCop at all, you remember
Total Recall.
Yeah, especially the commercial segments.
Yes.
In RoboCop, especially, it's like it's all there.
Yeah.
It's all that sense of humor. You'll see direct one-to-one comparisons with those. Join the infantry. It's all there. The kids stomping on the bugs like it's a big fucking game. I mean, it's like it's.
And the mom on the side, yes. Yeah. On a critical side, the critics panned it, but the audience loved it. I mean, when I went to go see it, it was a full house, and everybody erupted, laughed hysterically, cheered. Had a good time. Yeah. Everybody had a blast. Everybody left smiling. Yeah. That was the point of the fucking movie. Right. Even though the critics were probably just like, this is stupid. It's just they're fighting giant bugs. Because that's how movie critics talked back then.
Yeah.
And they're fighting bugs. I find it offensive that a bug that thinks is offensive. Whatever the fuck the line is. Okay. Anyway. Badass fucking movie.
Yeah.
Gore effects, creature effects, visual effects, all badass.
Yeah.
One of the best characters from Michael Ironside.
Oh, yeah.
And our boy
Clancy Brown,
okay?
Represent.
All right. So,
Mr. Krabs.
Highly recommend Mr. Krabs. Highly recommend the classic Starship Troopers. Stay the fuck away from the sequels.
Oh, sweet mother.
And the animated films. Don't bother.
The sequels didn't happen.
No, stay the fuck away from that. Now, before you talk about your experience, my experience was one day I sat down back in the day, way back in the day, turned on the tele, and I was just clicking randomly, and it was early in the morning, and I was like, what the fuck? I came across the Starship Troopers Roughnecks TV show, and I was like, what the? There's a show? Like, I didn't even know there was a show. I saw no advertisements, no TV spots, no trailers, nothing. And I was just like, for the time, the CG, the computer animation was dope for the time.
Yeah.
It's a little rough now.
Especially
they're looking like some PS2 graphics.
Especially some episodes. You could tell the
it's a little rough.
Budget was right there, and some animation was like, I've read that some animation was like delved up to some other studios, and it was a mess. And
is that why there was the quality?
That one episode in particular was just like woof. Yeah, remember that one episode that we saw? There was like one episode where it was just like PS1 cutscenes. Yeah, it was that bad. Like barely mouth movements. Yeah. It just wasn't happening.
People's faces were like.
But that was literally the worst. Yeah, it was the most egregious episode.
But I remember, like, at the time, at home, early in the morning, I was like, wow, looks amazing.
Yeah.
The animation looked amazing. But it was one of those things where I just couldn't find a way to keep up with it, to keep watching it, because, again, didn't know really what time it started. Mm-hmm. Nothing was advertised, and then I kind of forgot about it. And I remember back in the old school days, the comic book stores used to have, bootleg. They used to have a little bootleg area in the back, right? Little corners where you can find, Dragon Ball Z movies and VHS tapes.
Oh, no.
But I remember in two of the comic book stores that were by my house, they had the entire collection of Roughnecks on VHS tapes, bootleg, which means it was probably somebody recorded it off of television.
Oh, wow.
This is how we had to watch movies back then.
Wow.
And shows, okay?
Yeah. Wow.
Little did we know, many years later, it would be released on DVD.
Well, and it took Sony TriStar, it took Sony TriStar a long time to get that shit out on DVD. I know eventually they did release a full box set, but I don't know if they did, I don't know if they released the clip shows. I think they must have released everything, but they released them in order of the campaigns, which I always felt was fine, because the series, you watched it in the order of the campaigns. I showed it to you in the order of the campaigns, which made sense because they were all in chronological order. But to my knowledge, when they aired things, when
it was on TV,
when you were talking about how you never knew what time it was on, there was no advertising. That was one of the reasons the show was never really able to gain a lot of traction. My understanding is that they had a lot of issues, getting the show out there, getting the advertisement out there. They would try to sell the show, but they didn't have enough episodes to run it in syndication. So
you'd think they would not have an issue after a hit movie.
It just seemed like it was kind of a shit show the way it ended up getting shopped around. I'm no expert, just the little things that I've read about here and there. It just sounded like it was just not meant to be as well. As hard as they tried, and I felt like it was a well-told story. You fleshed out the characters much more, even though you saw that goddamn love triangle with Johnny, Carmen, and Dizzy, which I always hated.
Carmen's a lot more likable in the show.
So
for me,
not as annoying in this one.
But she sacrifices herself a lot and tries to help.
Yeah, that's what she's much more proactive in this one. At least in this one, she wasn't dating Johnny. In the movie, she's dating Johnny.
Oh, you're right.
Remember, she's dating Johnny. Johnny joins the infantry just to follow her, and then Diz joins just to follow Johnny, which she never admits it, but you fucking know she is, because fucking Dizzy, you're a fucking gorgeous girl. You could have anybody you want. God damn it, Dizzy Flores.
Poor Casper Van Dien.
Yeah.
Oh, he had to.
He had to settle on Dizzy.
He had to settle for Dizzy.
Oh, you poor, because she's such a
Denise
woofer.
Richards didn't.
Dizzy was just so hideous. She's such a bridge troll. Okay. Anyway.
Poor Johnny.
But yeah, and then he gets dumped in the movie. He fucking gets dumped in space by Carmen because she wants to go career in Fleet. And in this version, they're never dating. She's dating somebody else, and he just joins because he wants to get kind of get in with her anyway. But Dizzy's still tagging along and just trying to get with Johnny anyway. Yeah. But in this one, you kind of get this tug of war. It was the writers never quite knew who they wanted to end up with who, because one minute he's got the hot, he's about to date Carmen, but then he's realizing he gets feelings for Diz, and I didn't show you the clip show where he admitted to Diz that he loved her, because it was a clip show, and they had a lot of clip shows. Yeah, they had 4 or 5 clip shows, and it was after a while, I didn't really want to figure out the order to space out the clip shows, because I was just trying to show you the main meat of the series, and I felt like the campaigns were the way to go.
Well, we have time recently to binge watch on shows now,
and that's why I was
so it's the perfect segue.
Yeah.
So back to your experience. When it came out.
Well, I mean,
it was non-existent.
I couldn't tell you if I saw things necessarily in order. I just remember I might have seen the movie I may not have seen the movie. It's possible I could have seen the movie once.
Right.
But I just remember it was just one of those shows that I just really liked, even though I was way too old to be watching it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you how old I was when I was watching it. Some of you have been watching the show long enough, you know how old I am, because I've said my age before. So you know how old I was when the show came out. But I like animation, so sue me. I don't care.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those shows where I liked how they fleshed the characters out, and I liked how serious the show could be sometimes.
Yeah.
The show was never...
That surprised me.
The sense of humor was always just as much as it needed to be for characters interacting with each other. It was just characters that, were in a platoon together that would normally have their camaraderie together. It was never a cartoony type of animated show.
Right.
This was a show where I'm kind of surprised. Like, even if you go back and watch Beast Wars, which I adore Beast Wars. I've talked at length about Beast Wars, I believe I have. And especially that first season of Beast Wars, that was a kid's show. And, it took them 26 episodes to get to the point where you got to season 2 of Beast Wars, where they toned down the kid stuff. But even in season 2, which I consider a very dark chapter in the Beast Wars saga, even in some of its darker periods of that particular season, you still get some kiddie stuff in there. And even in season 3, you get some kiddie stuff in there.
Yeah.
But you don't get anything like that in Roughnecks.
No.
I can't pinpoint. I'm just watching it just now, like having rewatched it with you. This show was never for kids, and to have a show like that in America, that's kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah, that is. It is. I mean, it wasn't necessarily over the top. I mean, it wasn't like mature rated.
No.
There wasn't like...
It's not like Japanese style where you're gonna have like Johnny having a love scene with Diz, and suddenly Carmen shows up and they start like catfighting because how dare you cheat on me? It's nothing like that.
Yeah.
Nobody's having anybody's baby.
Violence,
nobody's having anybody's baby.
There's no
nobody's
gore.
Like stabbing each other in the back, like literally physically stabbing each other in the back. It's nothing like that. The violence is only relegated to bug hunts and like killing bugs. So there's no like human violence until the end.
Right.
Which I don't know if you saw coming.
No.
At the very end of the show, which we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But I mean, just in terms of tone.
Yes.
It was not a kids show in that I can't see little kids watching this.
Right.
Because it's not bright and colorful.
I would have watched the shit out of it if I was young.
I mean,
because it was like there was a lot of character development and storytelling.
Yeah. Mm.
And the show took its time with developing the characters, but a lot of episodes were missions. We're going on missions. We're fighting the bugs.
Yeah, and that was why I enjoyed the structure of the show.
For those who are out there that are unfamiliar with the basic plot of Starship Troopers, you want to just kind of give it to them real quick. Just the basic. It's simple. I mean, it's not complicated.
The
based off the movie.
The bare bones of the thing is that we know the bugs are out there, and the
aliens.
We're kind of at war with them, and then one day we get attacked, and like this whole major city gets just wiped out, and we're like officially at war with them, and the main core cast goes off and fights them. Right.
But the interesting part about Starship Troopers is that yes, we get the troopers together and we go out and fight, but just because we know of them, mm-hmm. of their existence, mm-hmm. we don't really know them.
Yeah.
We don't really know how they fight. We don't know how smart they are.
Yeah.
So that's really what's interesting about the story is that when we arrive to these, alien worlds and planets or go on these missions, it's fucked up, man. Like a lot of troopers get fucked up.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point of the, we've got to fight the good fight.
And there are some implied off-screen deaths in the show.
Yeah.
The brain bug does show up.
There are deaths. You just don't see decapitation.
The brain bug does show up, and you do see empty trooper helmets with...
He sucked his brains out.
Yeah, you do see empty trooper helmets with holes in their helmets, implying they're their brains out.
They're dead.
The first campaign is on Pluto, and we go off to another planet, and that's basically what all the campaigns are: is going off to the next planet to see if we can flesh out the brain bug, see if we can find the homeworld planet, and each campaign, as they call it, is the the next set of missions, and each campaign structure of the show is them just kind of like going on these different missions and whatnot, and learning a little bit about each of the characters. And each of the characters are somewhat unique in their own way. Some are a little bit more developed than others. Obviously, you have the main cast, which is Rico and Diz and Carmen. But you still have, you have Xander. You have a little bit more Carl, which was the psychic in the movie,
played by Doogie Howser.
Right, in the movie. He gets way more screen time in this one, whereas
all the younglings are like, "Who the fuck is Doogie Howser?"
Yeah, in the movie, what was it? How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, How I Met Your Mother.
You're gonna know him from that.
Yeah,
that's how you're gonna know him. But you get way more of him in this version.
Dr. Horrible.
Well, maybe. That was a while ago.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Where he got separated from the group because they wanted to develop his psychic abilities in the movie. In this one, you get him way more, and he even sacrifices himself to a degree in this one. And he gets separated from the cast while on the planet Tophet.
Yeah.
That's where you get introduced to the Skinnies.
I was not expecting to be introduced to another alien race
who are being controlled by the brain bugs.
Yeah, just like us.
And so what happens is you don't know that they're being controlled by the brain bugs initially, and so we're fighting the Skinnies. So now we have this building animosity with them, and so by the end of the Tophet campaign, Carl sacrifices himself to defeat the brain bug, which then releases the Skinnies from the brain bug's influence, and so the Skinnies enlist in the the core and all that, and so they're fighting alongside with the troopers, and the main
that was kind of cool, man.
Tafai is the colonel that was leading the Skinnies on Tophet, and so now there's this animosity at first with the troopers because he's in the platoon, and there's like, Carl sacrificed himself and you're the one that led them to all the bugs to them and blah blah blah, and so there's like this headbutting initially, and Tafai's trying to prove himself, and even Razak, who is Razak in the movie, even Razak's kind of like giving him grief at first. So that was an interesting dynamic, but eventually Tafai gets brought into the fold. And,
he earns his keep.
Yeah, and then the rest of the campaign.
And they end up trusting him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
See, so many interesting stories were told in this series that you'd think the movie sequels would have followed that kind of, either followed the show or followed maybe more of the book. I don't know. Because there's so much in that series you showed me that they could have easily, because this movie's based off of this mission. this movie's based off of this mission with these characters. Let's follow these characters or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's sad.
They really didn't take advantage of. Yeah. So after the Tophet, you have I think the whole Tesca campaign is basically kind of devoted to getting used to Phi, and then soon after that, you end up in the Zephyr campaign, which I think is on they're stuck on that that meteorite, I think. Yeah. And then they end up on Klendathu.
That drove me nuts. That campaign.
Which one?
The ice meteor
planet
thing. That drove me insane, man. It did, because it was like, I didn't know they were going to be stuck there the whole campaign.
Right.
And there was so many moments where they were going to escape, they were going to win, they were going to get away. Nope. But even and then when they finally do escape, the fucking planet meteorite thing, whatever the fuck it was, was a bug, in its own way,
right.
And that was like chasing after the ship. I'm like, holy fuck! I was like, no, get away from it, move on. I mean, not that it was bad.
Yeah,
it was just like,
So then eventually,
maybe it's because I cared about the characters and what was going on. I wanted them to get away.
Yeah, and then eventually you end up on Klendathu. And then and again, all these campaigns, you end up learning more and more about the characters, and some episodes are not as great as others, and some episodes, some characters again don't stand out as much as others, and then eventually, what is it, the Sarge? He ends up getting crippled.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to mention him.
His legs get.
I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah.
Because he was the hothead.
Right.
He was the second in command. He was the badass.
Right.
You don't know nothing,
Right.
And he was like, man, I was not expecting him to get crippled and be
his
wheelchair
legs,
bound.
His legs got
on this
demolished.
early in the morning show.
Yeah.
For kids.
Yeah, and he had to...
That played alongside probably Animaniacs or some shit. I don't know.
No, it would have been... What would it have been? Let's see. The big Monster Rancher. It would have been Monster Rancher, I think.
Yeah.
I want to say.
That was around the time when we started to get anime over here.
Well, Pokemon had been around in the States for a while, and I remember very distinctly once Pokemon came out, every channel was trying to get the next Pokemon.
Yeah,
and then you saw Digimon, and you saw like all these people scrambling to get the next...
Was Escaflowne around that time?
Oh, God. Yes.
Oh, okay.
It was
so
soon after.
we were starting to get that early.
Yes, everybody.
Anime.
And Escaflowne, I don't know, one day.
That's another video.
It might be another video one day. Escaflowne.
Great
heart
show.
And soul, Escaflowne.
Great show.
Anyway, yeah. So the Sarge, he has to get shipped out, and then Carl ends up coming back, and Carl, because of his experience, he's a very different Carl. He's a lot darker. He's a lot angrier.
He's way darker and way more angrier than Doogie Howser.
Yeah, who was more arrogant when he came back. Yeah. But this Carl, he's arrogant, but he's angry. Yeah. But he does kind of snap out of it later on. He kind of comes back.
But for a second there, I was like, we got some Sith?
Yeah.
Is he a Sith Lord?
Yeah. Yeah, and so eventually...
A Sith Lord?
Sorry. So eventually... and so something else I found interesting was it was a little sudden because it was hard to tell what happened on the Zephyr campaign. But Xander... The character Xander, who was always had the hots for Carmen, they was like an off again and on again relationship. Right. He got mutated.
Yeah.
He got like infected with bugs, something. Yeah. He got infected and mutated like into this weird bug thing.
That was interesting too.
He was like evil.
Yeah.
And then he kind of turned at the end, but
again, more cool shit for the movies.
Didn't quite die, but was
cool ideas.
You know, that was an interesting turn of what happened to him. It was kind of tragic. So then we end up going home, and at one point we get introduced to a new character. I think in the last episode, so I'm getting ahead of myself. But so we go home, and in the Homefront campaign, not too long before the end of the series. And I was wondering how you were going to react to this because I didn't tell you it was coming. But it's the very last campaign called the Homefront campaign, and I knew it was coming. And it's something that it doesn't happen the way it happens in the movie, but it's the death of Lieutenant Razak.
Yeah.
So what did you think about that?
That got me. I was affected by that. I didn't appreciate that.
He didn't appreciate that.
No, but like the show did a really good, despite its animation dip, it did a really good job telling a story to where I was invested. And they set it up. It was just told visually so well that you didn't really think he was going to die. It kind of came out of nowhere. And then they teased it. Oh, you know what? He might die.
Yeah.
And then he makes it, and then dead. I was like, God damn it.
Yeah.
I was like...
They blew
I think I was looking at you like that. I was like...
And I was kind of looking back at you like, yeah, that just happened.
I was like, fuck.
Yeah, and what was interesting...
For this kid series that got shown early in the morning.
And you got to remember that this Razak, even though Ironside's Razak is iconic, you only get him...
I want to pop.
Yeah, Razak is not the focus. And not that Razak is the focus in Roughnecks.
Right.
Because obviously Johnny Rico is, for the most part. But Razak, even though Razak has an impact and he has a presence in Starship Troopers, Razak just has like more of a presence because you get more episodes.
Yeah.
In my opinion, obviously you've got 40, pushing 40 episodes with this character, and you feel like he's there, he's leading, he's guiding all these troopers. They look up to him. They're following his orders, and he pulls them out of situations. And you come to rely on him to make these decisions, and to have him just like ripped out of the show like that. And what I loved was the episode after that. They actually take a whole episode after that to deal with his death, and to like they actually have an episode, even though there's they're talking about the disbanding of the Roughnecks, because what you come to find out is that Saigon, the military, military's getting their ass kicked in this war, and troopers are hard to come by, much less lieutenants, leaders to lead the actual platoons and all that, and so they don't have a readily available lieutenant to just come in and take over for the Roughnecks. I mean, they just had to bump up Johnny Rico to lieutenant after they lost. I mean, to sergeant after they lost their last sergeant, and so they're talking about we're gonna have to disband you guys. We're gonna have to send you off to other platoons and all that. So they get one day to basically take care of Razak's remains. They were gonna take his ashes and like release them off in this mountainside or lake that he wanted them released in. And there's this general that she pops up every now and then through the show. And of course there's this attack because at this point they're back at home because guess what? The bugs have launched their assault on Earth. Yet the brain bugs, you found out there's this transport bug, which they're bringing all their forces, full force, to the home world, but they're starting their major assaults is what's going on. So the bugs have started to infiltrate Earth, and they've found a way to mimic humans. That's another subplot that's going on. They found a way to replicate humans, kind of. It's very basic, and they're not very good at it, but they still can. So they go to spread their ashes, but there's like this attack on them, and so the general's like, well, I can't just disband you guys because you guys work too well together. So, hey, Rico, battlefield promotion. So Rico gets bumped up to lieutenant. So now it's Rico's Roughnecks. So that's what happens at the end of the movie. It's just this case. It's much more emotional because again, you've had all these episodes with these characters, and you even feel a little more gut wrenched in the show. Mm-hmm. Like, you feel like these characters really get their hearts ripped out once Razak dies, and you feel the absence when he dies. And in the very end of the episode is them actually spreading the ashes of Razak. It's like, just twist the knife a little bit more, show. Just put it in a little bit harder and twist it a little bit deeper there.
Digimon Monsters, whatever the fuck the theme song is. Digimon. Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Oh my
Yu-Gi-Oh
God.
Cards.
So...
All right.
What's really sad is that's the second to the last episode, folks, because guess what? The show got canceled right after. So the very last episode.
Well,
there's one episode
Clancy
after this.
Brown.
There's one episode after that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one episode after.
Are we going to talk about the Clancy Brown episode?
That's the very next episode.
Okay.
So the very last episode of the series, Johnny finally gets command, and one of the best things that ever happened. You gotta remember, I love Clancy Brown.
Yeah.
I fucking love Clancy Brown. He's the Kurgan. Okay?
Yeah, the fucking Kurgan.
He's the Kurgan.
Highlander.
And one of the coolest things that ever happened...
And Mr. Krabs.
And you want to talk about a holy shit moment when I realized that the Kurgan was Mr. Krabs. It was the same reaction I had when I found out Luke Skywalker was the fucking Joker.
Yeah.
Same reaction I had, okay? So one of the coolest things that ever happened for me was realizing that, oh my God, Clancy Brown played Sergeant Zim
in the movie.
Drill instructor Sergeant Zim in the movie Starship Troopers.
Medic!
Well, guess what? That motherfucker is a voice actor. So guess what? He plays the same goddamn character in Roughnecks. He plays the same character.
It's awesome.
And it's so cool that they were actually able to do that.
Yeah.
And so he had already been there for a flashback sequence. Because again, he was the drill instructor, Sergeant Zim, and so in this one, he busts himself down so he can go fight the bugs and all that. Because he's a career trooper, and in this case, it was so cool. And think of the possibilities we could have had. Because in this case, once again, Sarge, he's gone, so now the Roughnecks have no second in command, and it's just Johnny Rico. And I don't know why they didn't employ Tafai as the second in command, because he did have command experience, but, we don't care. But Zim shows up, they get deployed to this station in Hawaii, I think, and it's getting heavily bombarded with bug attacks. And Zim is there, and Zim has a special connection to Johnny, even though Johnny kind of got him disfigured, but Jean, Razak, and Zim, they always had this thing. They knew Johnny was going to be a leader, and so they've always kind of like did what they could to prop Johnny up and make sure that he made it, even if Johnny wasn't sure himself that he could do it. And so Zim always believed in Johnny, and so Zim kind of like makes sure he gets into the Roughnecks. Which I'm like, this is like the fucking coolest thing. And you realize that he was in the Roughnecks. And you're like, oh my God, is Sergeant Zim in the Roughnecks now? I'm like, yeah.
I was just like, fucking Clancy Brown's Zim is on the Roughneck team that we've been following. And he's there fighting beside them and all this shit. I was like, okay, this is the greatest show ever. Is this what actually is happening right now?
Yeah.
He's on the team, which makes it even more fucked up.
It happens for one episode because it's the last fucking episode. And unfortunately, I did warn you that this was going to happen. Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Slight cliffhanger.
Yeah.
The show literally ends like the battle commences and they finally fight off the bugs and they win the battle.
Yeah.
And, they're like, Johnny kind of comes to terms with the fact that he's leading the Roughnecks.
Because he didn't want it.
Yeah.
He didn't want it. He was trying to give it to Zim.
He was trying to give it to Zim.
He's like, you lead. I don't want this.
Him and Zim had this really good moment, this really good conversation
really,
and all that.
I really liked that Rico struggled and basically kind of gave up being the leader.
Yeah.
Pokemon! How's the song go?
Gotta catch them all.
Gotta catch them all.
Yeah. So the episode's coming to a close. Basically, you zoom out and you see Transport Bug, and basically hinting we won the day, but we didn't know that something bad was coming. And you're
God
hinting,
damn it!
It's basically revealed that the Transport Bugs are coming with the whole fleet of their shit coming right towards Earth, and that's how it ends. And there was supposed to be like, I don't know if it's supposed to be like 3 episodes or so left. I think they had the voice work done.
Really?
I think they did.
Oh,
They had the scripts done. They just didn't have the animation done. And
it's heartbreaking.
It really is. And it's so sad that they couldn't even get like an animated movie. And
that could have solved it at least. It was a great show. I'm glad. The heartbreaking ending. I'm glad though you showed it to me. And it's definitely one of those better late than never experiences. But do you recommend it?
If you haven't seen it,
because the animation is old.
Okay,
and now you know there's no ending.
Yeah.
Do you still recommend people?
That's the thing. If you haven't seen it, if you can tolerate kind of clunky animation, it's
It's not on Blu-ray.
And
it's not available in HD.
I think the DVDs. I think the box set that they eventually released. I think it has everything you need in it. So I think that's reasonable.
Right. Wait, you said you showed it to me in order.
I did show it to you in order.
Was this shown out of order on TV?
I think sometimes it was, but most shows are.
But that's still another knock against it, though. Like, no advertisement, horrible time slot.
It happens, unfortunately.
Wow, that's bad.
Shows do that. Look at Serenity.
It's the Firefly of animation.
Firefly did it. A lot of shows have that problem.
Yeah. At least Firefly got its Serenity, though.
Yeah.
Unlike this.
Yeah.
But,
damn it.
But yeah, do you still recommend it?
I mean, I do if you know what you're in for. It's one of those things. If you can tolerate the fact that you're not going to get a conclusion. If you like Starship Troopers and you didn't know that this animated series existed, you might like it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. It's like, do you know what you're in for? If you can handle it, give it a shot.
But yeah, good show. I'm glad you showed it to me.
I'm glad you're okay with it.
Yeah. Well, you didn't think I was going to like it?
I mean, it's clunky. It can be clunky in spots, and it's older.
Yeah, a lot of action, though. It wasn't boring.
It's 20 years old.
Digimon.
Perfect.